Hey everybody, we are going to work on our 3-5C notes, which is in that same packet we've been working on. Looks like this, so you're going to see this word problem on it. It's the second to last page, or last page, and so we're going to fill that out. Now this first problem is not on there. We're going to go through just a couple things before we get to that one, so pay close attention, and then when I ask you to write stuff down, write stuff down. So our objective that's up here, learn to complete a table and write an equation from a word problem. Essential question, how do I set up an equation and table from a word problem? That has been our goal. We're going to continue that goal today. So the first one, we're going to use the given equation to complete the table below. This is similar to what we talked about the other day. Y equals 6x plus 7 is our equation, and we have some x's and we have some y's. So let's talk about how to do the x's first. What we do is we substitute in what we know for the equation. So we don't know y. We know that x is -2, and we're going to add 7 to that answer. So we would multiply 6 times -2 to get -12 plus 7. So y equals -5. Let's go down and do another one of these x values while we're at it. Y equals 6. Now it's 3 that we're multiplying plus 7. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 7, y equals 25. The last x value is 5, so y equals 6 times 5 plus 7, which is 30 plus 7, so y equals 37. Now we're going to do our x values. This is where solving equations is going to be helpful. So we now know what y equals, so we put 7 in for y equals 6x plus 7. We have to solve for x. So we start by subtracting 7 from both sides. So 0 equals 6x. Divide by 6. 0 divided by 6 would give us 0. So x equals 0. Now we'll do 49. So we put 49 in place of y. So 49 equals 6x plus 7. Subtract 7 from both sides. 42 equals 6x. Divide by 6. 7 equals x. All right, moving on to our word problem. This one's a big deal. As we go through this, I highly suggest you underline and circle anything that's important to you. You can choose the method that you want to use, but just make sure that you are doing that. Also, one thing that we practice is crossing off things that are not important or relevant to the problem. So let's go through this, take a second to read it, and see what we need to circle. So we'll read it once just on its own, then the second time we'll go through those steps. Chad wants to buy a new Xbox 360 for $329. He decided to mow lawns to earn the money, and he is charging $15 per lawn. His dad borrowed him $20 to buy gas, and Chad will need to pay him back. Use this information to write an equation to represent the total profit. Then make a table and graph of this situation to determine how many lawns he will need to mow in order to buy the Xbox. So Chad wants to buy a new Xbox 360. That's great. We don't really care what he wants. We care about how much it's going to cost. He decided to mow lawns to earn the money, charging $15 per lawn. That's important. The fact that he's mowing lawns is great. It's not going to affect what we're doing.
Mr. Kwan, if you're in the building, can you please report to the main office? Mr. Kwan, please report to the main office. Thank you.
His dad borrowed him $20 to buy gas. So this is important because that's money that he's going to have to pay back, and Chad will need to pay him back. So we might want to underline that. Use this information to write an equation to represent the total profit, then make a table and graph of this situation to determine how many lawns he'll need to mow. So how many lawns is what we're trying to find. So starting with the equation, we know he needs to make $329. So whatever we do needs to add up to $329. We know he's charging $15 for every lawn. So I'm going to use X. I'm going to have X equals the number of lawns. You can choose your variable, doesn't have to be X. And he's got $20 that he started with. So this is the amount of money he's going to make. He has to pay that $20 back. So we have to actually subtract the $20 from whatever he makes, because once he pays that back, then he's going to have enough for his Xbox. Now we want to set up a table to see what that looks like. So we have X and we have Y, and we're going to plug in some numbers. So you can pick whatever numbers you want, but realize you probably want to start with positive numbers because he can't mow negative amounts of lawns. So easy one, if he mows 0 lawns, he's actually negative $20 because he borrowed that $20 and didn't use it. So now take a second on your calculator to figure out if he mows 1 lawn, how much money will he have? And so this is not relevant to the 329. We're just taking it and looking at the equation 15x minus 20 equals something to see what those something options are. So try to figure out what that would be if it was 1 lawn. So think about what we did there. 15 times 1 minus 20. 15 minus 20. He's still negative. Let's jump up a little bit. We know he's going to have to mow quite a few lawns. Let's go to 10. So he mows 10 lawns. So we have to take 15 times 10 minus 20. That's 150 minus 20, which leaves us at $130. Is he at his $329 yet? No. Let's make a bigger jump. Let's go to 20. So 15 times 20 minus 20, we want to see what that equals. So 15 times 20 is 300. 300 minus 20, 280. We're closer, but he still doesn't have enough money. So let's jump to 30. 15 times 30 minus 20. So we take 15 times 30 first. We get 450 minus 20, 430. That's too much. So what we found out is that he's going to have to mow somewhere between 20 and 30 lawns. So let's keep going. Let's expand our table a little bit over to here. So we're going to bring it over and keep going with our table. So between 20 and 30, let's just go with a good 25. So 15 times 25 minus 20 equals something. 15 times 25 is 375. 375 minus 20 is 355. That's a little bit more than he needs, but we're getting closer. So now we can narrow it down between 20 and 25. Let's try 23. 15 times 23 minus 20. So 15 times 23 is 345. 345 minus 20 is 325. We're very close. Let's try 24. And I think we're going to be there. 24. 15 times 24 is 360. 360 minus 20 is 340. So right here, what we've learned is that somewhere between 23 and 24 lawns, he makes enough money. So if we're mowing lawns, they're probably not going to pay us to partially do the job, which means we have to go with the higher number. This 23 is not going to be enough money, so 24 would be how many lawns he needs. Coming back to our equation, let's solve that and see if we get the same result. So 15x minus 20 equals 329. We want to get x by itself. So we add 20 to both sides. 15x equals 349. Divide by 15, divide by 15. We take 349 divided by 15, and you get 23.26 repeating. So again, what we know is we have to round that number up to 24 lawns. So you should have a table. You should have an equation. You should have solved the equation. All of these steps should be there. Everything should be circled, underlined, highlighted that seems important in that problem to get 24 lawns. Our next step is going to be graphing. So the points that are going to be most important would be the points that we came up with that are close to our answer, which would be 23, 24, those values. So we're going to use some of those to create our graph. So when we create our graph, we want to label the parts. When we are labeling parts, we have two things we're really looking at. We have the number of lawns, and we have his total money. If we are graphing based on the fact that he has to pay the $20 back, we're using the table that we created. Now, we started with 0, 1, 2, and then we ended up jumping up to the 20s. So we want to make sure that our numbers fit. So it would probably make sense for our number of lawns if we looked at like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 to go by twos. So 0 is always here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30. Thinking about the money, we end up getting up to $329, and it does go a little bit higher than that. So we want to make sure we can get there. So maybe we count by 30s, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300, 330. I think that would be pretty good. So we start again at 0, so 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300, 330, 360, 390, 420, 450. And then using your table that you've written down, we're going to graph the points we know. So we know that 20 was at 280. So we look at 20, we go up to approximately 280, which is going to be somewhere in this area right here. 23 was 325, so 23 is halfway between. We're going up to almost 330. 24 is at 340. So 24, we're going to be a little bit above this. 25 is 355. So we're very close to 360. And 30 is 430. So way over here, going up just past that. We could do more if we needed to. If you remember when we did 10, that was 130. So 10 to 130 would be right about there. And this is going to get interesting here. I don't have a ruler. This is going to be rough. So I'm going to draw a line connecting these the best I can. Okay, not bad. You would have a ruler and you would draw that line so you can see where your values fall. Now we could use this to make a prediction. So if we wanted to say, okay, if I mow 28 lawns, predict how much money I would make. Well, I'd be around $400. Or if I wanted to say, okay, I only need $150, how many lawns would I need to mow? I need 150, I would need to mow about 12 lawns. You can use that information. Okay, one final example before you try some practice on your own. The height h of an airplane is s seconds from takeoff. This represented by the equation h equals 12s. Make a table and sketch a graph of the equation. So this time we are working with s and h. We get to pick our values. Now you're talking about an airplane, so negatives don't make sense because it's not moving at 0. It can't go negative speed. So after 0 seconds, it's on the ground. After 1 second, we're using the equation h equals 12 times s. So we're multiplying the number of seconds by 12. So 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4 is 48. When you're sketching your own graph, you just make your own quadrant. We only need quadrant 1 because, again, there are no negatives. 0 is always in your corner. This is our x value. So seconds would be our x-axis. Height would be the y-axis. Seconds, we're going by ones, so it's easy enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Height, we're going by 12s. It's consistently 12s, so why not go by 12? You can do different. You just have to keep them the same within your scale on that axis. So 12, 24, 36, 48. Then graphing this is pretty easy. 0, 0, 112, 224, 336, 448, and if we wanted to, we could keep going. We're only going to go in that direction because we can't go negative with our height. So you're going to have a few practice problems. On the back of your packet, there are 3 problems here. They're going to be similar to the one that I just showed you here with the height. You're going to make a table like I did, and then write a table, and then on one of the 3, choose to make a graph. I will let you choose which one you want to make the graph for, but choose one of the 3 to make a graph in addition to the tables for all 3 of them. So good luck, finish that up, and thanks for listening.